So I'd like to thank Revision Architecture for allowing me to show these slides and for allowing me to be the Charrette facilitator for this case study that I'm going to be showing you right now. Revision Architecture, by the way, is a deep green firm in Philadelphia that does basically LEED Gold, Platinum, Living Building Challenge, Passive House projects exclusively. And they've had a pretty successful career. I get to work there during the summers for the most part and get to help with charrettes, which is pretty exciting. Today I'm going to talk about the Lancaster Urban Forest Center project, which we did a few years ago. And to give you a little bit of orientation, the project was 87 acres near the city of Lancaster, PA, which is right here. And, beautiful, beautiful area of Pennsylvania, great farmland, really just beautiful weather, etc. And you'll see here that there is some, things around it. There's the center city. There's a hospital. There's a lot of neighbors. There's an unsafe crossing. Here's just general site inventory and analysis. And I talked before about guiding principles in some of my previous videos. And so they use the term touchstones, or Scott does here from Revision. I use the term guiding principles. But these are what we use to align the teams to get them to have the same vision. So create the healthiest environment imaginable at the Urban Forest Center. Instill an environmental ethic through safe and fun interactive experience with nature. Be the best example of integrated holistic sustainability through land conservation, etc. So imagine you've hired as a landscape architect and you're brought into this team. You see that there's a very specific purpose. Now these are different than concepts. These are not design concepts. They go much deeper and they're more profound than a design concept. Educate and inspire about nature, stewardship, land protection, sustainable design. Connect the community and the conservancy, which is probably the most important one, and then infuse a sense of beauty into every decision, which is, I really like that one. So the site in 1940 was farmland, and in 1957 it became a landfill for a company that put asbestos in there. 1970 it continued to be a landfill, and then in 2001, in 1970 the landfill was closed, and over time the site became a forest organically, meaning that trees just sprouted up. The problem is the trees get to about 15 feet tall and they tip over because there's no real soil there. So this is as much about a building a new headquarters for Landscape Conservancy as it is about restoring 87 acres to an ecological preserve. And here's the basic site. This is the 87 acres here. There's a beautiful river here. There's a little creek that comes down here, which is actually very important. There's capped landfill here. There's landfill here. There's landfill here. There's some old farmhouses here. There's a site that we identified that was best for building on that would have the least disturbance. Dog park over here, flood zone over here, so we really didn't look at that side as much. Now, this is, again, talking about integrated design. Here was the team, and we had the client, Lancaster County Conservancy, Revision, Red 2 Associates, Paul Risk. Notice the builder was there at the Charrette, helping to guide us to make sure that what we drew was buildable and affordable. And so we did the design charrette process. We put the principles into practice. And here's exactly how a charrette will work by schedule. You'll have a research period of a couple months getting ready. On day one, you will have, this is day one drawings, you will have very schematic, rough, kind of ugly drawings of basic ideas. Day two in the evening, day two during the day, we'll clean up the ideas, and day two in the evening, we'll present at night to the larger community, which is sometimes scary, and it was scary this time. Day three, we'll come back with the entire group of the charrette and get into more detail, start looking at plans for buildings and site plans, etc. We'll do another public presentation that night on the Thursday, which is usually a Thursday. Come back on Friday and design some more, probably even getting into SketchUp at that point. And then on day 6, a Saturday, we'll do the final public presentation. So what we've done is taken about 3 months of design and put it into 1 week where we can all work together to come up with something that we can be proud of. And it's really satisfying when everybody works together to do that. Sorry, I was going backwards there. So, and here was the group. I showed some of these pictures before. Again, just to prove that I actually work. There I was sitting down. And this was really the charrette itself. Later, we had hundreds of people coming for the public meetings. And so that was pretty exciting. We always walk the site, and we always have our charrettes at the site, so that we're not speculating about, well, what if we did this? What if we did that? Well, we don't know. We have this drawing to rely on. So how does that really work? So how about that, huh? And here are the breakout sessions. So 4 teams working on the same problem, but with different teams, you get different solutions. These are the breakout sessions. You can see they're all in different rooms for acoustics. Yellow trace, pencils, everybody drawing. And by the way, these tables were too big. See how people can't reach the drawings in the middle? See how that person's reaching? I usually now when I do these take some tables away, but you live and learn. And so this is what drawings might look like on day one. They're not fancy. They're actually pretty basic, and they don't have a lot of information. We do rely on presentations to share these and to talk about these and to get to understand these. This is the public meeting where we talked about the designs, and the public was at first very upset with us for designing and changing their park. And they thought that we had been working on this for months and months and months, when in fact we'd only been working on it for weeks or a week or a day or 2 days, and they started to calm down and they realized that their thoughts and ideas could be placed into that. So when we came to the next day, we broke up into site and building, because the site was really actually more important in this project. And you'll see here we had 6 teams working, 4 doing site and 2 doing building. We even had what's called a kids team. These would be end users of the park, the ecological reserve, and they did a really nice drawing that we then they presented like everybody else to the group. And then the vetting process. So we had the design and we have the vetting, and we used the optimisms and cautions, which really came from De Bono's 6 hats thinking. We're just using 2 hats. There are more hats, by the way. There is the white hat, which looks at facts. There is the blue hat, which looks at process. There is the green hat and the red hat, which looks at emotion and creativity. But they're missing the 7th hat, which is the ethics hat. Should the building be built? I've worked on charrettes where at the end of the charrette we decided not to build the building, or the client did. And that was very painful but great, because we saved the client thousands of dollars in design fees. So in any sense, we tend to use these 2 hats right here for these charrettes. As you can see now, the drawings are getting more finished and they look more professional. As we're getting, again, we're still in the first week of design here, and this is actually the end result. This was not done on the Friday of the first week, but soon after that. And you can see the site plan here. You could see we ended up putting the building here, and I'll take you through some of these ideas. The main thing, of course, was the trail process and how we redesigned the trails. We began to bring in amenities that the residents asked for. They really wanted to launch boats. They wanted a new bridge. They wanted to walk in the canopies. The end users, the people who are going to use this park, wanted to walk in the canopies. And so when we had the builder there, we said, "Hey, builder, can we do this?" The builder said, "Yes, with the budget you have, you can do it." Solar, the building was going to be net zero energy, living building challenge project. So therefore, we need a lot of solar. A lot of interaction with water, a lot of ponds that were either artificially created or that were already there that we restored. We had 2 areas of the campus. If you remember, we had an old farmhouse and a beautiful old barn. This actually is a new barn, and some architects would object to the traditional look of that, but the neighbors were really, really interested in another traditional barn, and for the client to keep the neighbors happy, why not? Is it that bad to have a traditional looking building? So those buildings are right here. This is sort of the utility part of the campus, and this is a new living building challenge building for the headquarters. And you see all the blue there is the rainwater collected from the roof. And you notice the building is facing south. This creek becomes now a big pond that sits in the middle of everything, where people can interact with water and have a great time. Very hard to do a sustainable parking lot, but we did our best. Early in the design process, of course, you show pictures. This idea of equity here, the idea that somebody in a wheelchair could interact with water, I thought that was pretty critical. These are some early drawings of the actual building, and what I want to point out here is that the solar, as you can see, is very carefully integrated into the building aesthetically. Quadruple bottom line solution. This is a rain garden. So the idea that the sustainable technologies are part of the aesthetics of the project, pretty critical. This is all local stone, local wood from an old barn, by the way. And here you see the classic sustainable profile for moving of fresh air. That's the main entry, main hall, as it would look. Kind of nice. And so that really gets into, that sort of wraps up the case study here. And next week, I'll be getting into some more of the sustainable behaviors that we need to do to generate a sustainable future. Thanks a lot.